much requested and long awaited update video about my piercings that I've all done myself, and my first, which I got done professionally. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a professional, so of course take everything I say with a grain of salt. This is just things that I've learnt and researched, like I've researched quite a lot before I do my piercings. And also, I do not recommend doing piercings yourself, especially ones that are more risky or like have more room for error, like the septum. You could easily go wrong. But if you're going to do it yourself, you want to be confident. Like, no one's gonna be perfectly confident, of course, but you want to be, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and know what you're doing, you know? So I'm gonna take you through the ins and outs, pain levels, all that kind of stuff, answering your questions that were requested on previous videos. All right, let's get into it. Alrighty, so I'm gonna quickly take you through all the stuff that I used for my piercings. So firstly, the actual earring or nose ring or whatever kind of ring you're using, you want to make sure it's a real metal. So no like fake metals. You can know this by just checking the description of the earring that you're buying if it's off Amazon. So it can either be gold, gold plated, silver, silver plated, sterling silver, stainless steel, surgical steel, which is a really good one, and titanium, which is actually supposed to be very good if you have like allergies or anything. When I got my first done at Claire's when I was quite young, they used sterling silver and my ears got infected. So I have a bit of experience with that. I had to go on medication, which was so unnecessary, so unnecessary. I can tell you what I do now if it gets infected or inflamed or anything like that. I can tell you how I handled that. Some other things that I used. So I let my earrings soak for at least an hour before or a whole day before in some hydrogen peroxide. This was to kill any bacteria because who knows where those earrings have been. And also before I actually pierce my ear, I clean it with hydrogen peroxide. Make sure your hands are clean too, obviously. And then I also use, in case there's any bleeding, cotton pad and a Q-tip. Then other things I use is if you are gonna do piercings and get into doing your own piercings, just buy a big pack of already sterilized needles. Trust me, and they're hollow. It will save you. It will save you from using a freaking safety pin, okay? I pierced my seconds and thirds, both with safety pins. It was a struggle, okay? It was way harder than just getting a freaking needle. Also, another tip that I'm gonna throw in here is you want the gauge of the needle to be bigger than the gauge of the earring. I mean, it doesn't matter that much as long as it's either the same or smaller. It just makes it easier. So like for my septum, what would have made it easier is if I'd used a 14 gauge needle and then a 16 gauge ring. That would have been perfect, but it was fine. That was also why me and my friend struggled a bit to get ours in. And also for septums, right nostril to left nostril. I don't know why, but that seemed to help. When Livy did it, she firstly did it from left to right and she struggled. She did that twice, and then the third time we tried it from right to left and it went in smoothly. So it's just a little tip to throw in there too. And now I'm going to be talking about each individual piercing and their pain level, how easy the aftercare was, and any issues I came into, or the ins and outs of the different piercings. Okay, let's get into it. So firstly, I have my little checklist. My first I got done at Accessorize. I recommend going to piercing shop, not gonna lie, because those people know just as much as us and they're using a gun, which I'm not a fan of, not gonna lie. That pain level was like a 2 out of 10. It felt like a pinch, basically. Then my seconds were the same. They were like a 2 out of 10. The only 2.5 out of 10 because I did those ones myself with the safety pin. Don't recommend. What was I even thinking? That was like it didn't hurt that much because it's just your lobe, you know? And then the thirds, I did my thirds here and out here. And those were again a 2.5 out of 10. Those ones super smooth, super easy. And I also have that on video. I'll link all the videos down below. And also when you're placing your earring, you want to make sure you mark it up with like a good pen. And as you can see, I have 4 here. I have 4 because I did my seconds, or what was my seconds, and my third, which is there and there. They were really far apart compared to this side. I just felt like it was quite uneven. There's quite a big gap. So I just pierced this one again. I did that quite recently, to be honest. Okay, then we have the forwards helix. My goodness me. Now, this is the one I've gotten the most compliments on from other people. Like, even my friend's mum was like, oh yes, if I want my daughter to get one, I want her to get another one like up there. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. Because it's such an easy piercing. Okay, firstly, go watch that video because it's very helpful. I accidentally pierced it like the wrong way at first and it went into my head, kind of. But it wasn't painful at all, and it was a 1 out of 10. And overall, it was a super easy piercing and super pretty, I think. I think it's one of my favorites. Okay, then we have the cartilage. Oh yes, now I've got some deets to tell you on this one. Firstly, I don't actually know if it's a myth or not that you can get paralysed from your cartilage. I'm sure there's something that could happen, but I'm sure it's very unlikely too. Another thing is shine a light behind your ear and check for any blood vessels. That's what me and my friend did. I pierced my cartilage in the septum video, link in description. So it's super easy to get through, so once I shone the light, I avoided any of the blood vessels. Oh, also, I forgot to mention the gauges I use for each piercing, which I will write a little thing on the screen saying what gauge I used for it and also what type of earring I used for it. Did come across an issue, but this also came across this issue, but she got hers professionally done. We both developed keloids on our ears. Oh, and it just got inflamed. It's because I wear headphones. I literally wear like these headphones and they press against my ears. So if there's any aggravation, I recommend avoiding anything that will aggravate it, especially because cartilage is right on the outside and get moved around. That's how keloids develop, just lots of irritation and if you don't clean them. Other than that, the keloid is barely noticeable. Do you see how there's a little bump at the back there? That's a keloid. Not painful at all. It just got a little puffy, but I will tell you how to treat infected or inflamed ears once we've come across the septum. For pain level of the septum, it was probably about a 4 out of 10, okay? Let me tell you why. So piercing it in, not painful. The only painful bit was when once it was in, I had to push it all the way through, and I actually pierced my friend's septum at school. She asked me to do it for her, and she found the exact same thing. Not that painful, just trying to get it all the way through. It kind of like was aggravated. But nothing unbearable, nothing awful. It's just a little pinch. If you want to know where I got this ring, I got it off Etsy. I will also leave a link in the description for that. Oh, I'm in love. I love the colour. It's a cool piercing. Supporting small businesses on Etsy. It was quite expensive, but you know what? I think it's worth it. I'm gonna go into a bit more detail about the septum ring, especially because you guys had some questions on that, so I'll go into that now. So I'll quickly answer some questions about the septum ring and how to pierce it, or how I pierced it and what I've learned, because of course I'm not a professional, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Firstly, where you want to pierce it, that's the #1 thing, is something called the sweet spot, getting a Q-tip to kind of show you where. So the thing is, you don't want it to be too high up or too down low. If anything, you want it to be more on the higher up end than lower down, and also you don't want it to be too far forwards but not too far into your nose either. Basically, if you pinch your nose right here, just pinch, and if you rub it like that, it will feel soft basically. So the best thing to do that I found quite helpful is get 2 Q-tips and just put them in your nose like this. You don't want it to be down here, so you want to be more on the higher end, and then you don't want it to be too far forwards. You want it to be quite far back, but of course not too far back. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm going to show you a quick close-up of my nose right now, just to quickly let you know noses are hairy, so as you can see, I pierced it there. This is the other side. That was quite close and personal. I've had no issues with my septum. The healing process was also super easy, and I'm going to be moving on to aftercare after this. Also, I pierced it with a 16 gauge and I used a 16 gauge ring. Something that's quite helpful is to pierce with a 14 gauge and then use a 16 gauge ring. But in the end, it's not that big of a difference. And then we have a horseshoe ring. This one is a 10mm. My friend used a 12mm diameter ring, and this is surgical steel as well. That's about it for the septum. I'm just going to be answering some questions that you guys were curious about. Do my parents know about my piercings? Yes, they do now. They didn't when I was piercing them. I would never tell them beforehand. But do I recommend going behind your parents' back and piercing? No, I don't. Especially if you have strict parents. My parents are kind of laid back and not strict at all, so they're quite accepting of some things. The septum, they kind of took a while for them to get used to it. Oh, that's also another thing. So I actually read a comment. Someone said not to flip it up when you first pierce your septum. With a horseshoe, what you can do is you can flip it round up like that, and then it will go into your nose and it won't be noticeable. The day after, I actually had somewhere to go and I didn't want the piercing to be on show, so I flipped it up. I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any moving, any issues with the actual earring. I've heard that like things can happen where it like shifts or like stretches the skin. Of course, you want to be quite delicate when you're trying to push it around. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I literally just shoved it round. Like, it was kind of difficult, but I just shoved. I was like, I cannot have this on show, especially with school. Yeah, I didn't have any issues, but to be on the safe side, I would recommend not doing that for at least a month until it's like started to heal. You can literally look all this stuff up on the internet, but I'm just gonna quickly tell you now. So for the lobe piercing, I just looked it up, it says 6 weeks. For the cartilage piercing, it says about 3 to 6 months. For the septum piercing, it says that it can take up to like 6 months. And then for the forwards helix, it says about 3 months. All right, back to answering more questions. How many piercings do I have? I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 piercings. I actually have 11 piercings, but that video will be coming out soon. Do I want more piercings? So I've actually done a few more piercings, but some things happened to that which I'll release videos on soon about that. But I don't know, I'm kind of impulsive. If I find a piercing that I really like and really want, I don't want to overcrowd my ears, not gonna lie. I'm normally, when I pierce my ears, I'm going through something, you know, like I'm pretty happy with the minimalistic look. I'm gonna avoid cartilages at all cost because I feel like they blow up my ear a bit. As you can see, so I'm like, not a fan. So for hiding the piercings, I did hide my septum for a few days. That didn't last long though. Yeah, my parents were pretty chill about it though, surprisingly. They didn't like it at first, and neither did my sister at all. They were like, no, but now I wear it down every now and then. They're like, oh, kind of like it, think it suits you. And I'm like, ah, oh, that's good. So yeah, but I do recommend asking your parents before you do anything, definitely, especially if you have strict parents. Whew, no, don't want to get on the bad side then. Moving on to aftercare. So I'm gonna be straight up with you. I did near zilcho aftercare a majority of my piercings, and that was a huge mistake. So with these ones, I literally, my thirds and seconds, I did nothing. My first, I did, of course, I used this piercing solution I got from Accessorize. It just came with the actual piercing. If you don't have it, honestly, don't buy it because it's not. I literally used salt solution, literally non-iodized salt, which you can get. It's like sea salt in the supermarket, and water, mix it around, done and dusted. That is also very good. With my septum, I did like very minimal. For some reason, I thought I could just let them do their thing. No, it will build up with crust and it would be a not good situation. But with this, I literally grabbed a Q-tip, my mini Q-tip, and I just like cleaned it all around, just getting off any crust. I have to say the nose piercing did build up with crust quite a lot, but it was really easy just to like clean it off. And then with the cartilage, also just clean the inside, clean the outside, clean the top, clean the back. I don't think twisting's a very good idea. You just want to make sure there's no grime on it. Hi, I'm just here to quickly sum up something about infection, which I didn't experience. I just experienced a keloid and a inflammation where it's just puffy and red. But an infection is where like there's actual goo coming out. If that lasts for more than 2 days after doing this thing that I'm about to tell you, then you should probably go see a doctor. But all you do is you grab the salt solution and water in like a shot glass or something. You let your ear sit in it for like 20 to 30 minutes for like a good few days. Consistently do that, and then just rinse it off after, and then the inflammation should go down after a couple hours after doing that. It helped with my keloid, especially when it was getting a bit red and puffy. And yeah, I hope this video is helpful. Like the video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this. Bye, see you in the next video.